Hi, my name is Helen Tyndall. To set the scene, I grew up in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I have to admit that before this class, I lived in a bubble when it came to race. I rarely thought about my position in society or the complexity of race and typically avoided the topic altogether. But in Dr. Price's seminar, my understanding began to shift, and this presentation shows what I've learned. The first point I'll be exploring is the improper use of critical race theory in current day. Derek Bell and Richard Delgado helped create critical race theory to show that the law isn't neutral and that racism is woven into everyday institutions. But in modern debates, its original purpose is often misrepresented. For example, conservatives tend to see critical race theory as assuming that all whites are racist. Proponents of critical race theory argue that we must acknowledge America's full history, including racism and oppression. These differing opinions can create polarization in politics and add fuel to the fire. However, we need to return to the original theory and what it means. The second lesson I learned is that race is a social construct. These are some other examples of social constructs in society. Early thinkers like Buffon try to classify humans into fixed biological races based on their physical traits. Peter Camper expanded this idea by using facial measurements to rank groups. And Francis Galton pushed it even further with eugenics and claims of innate racial superiority. Together, their works show how race was wrongly treated as biological fact, and it set the stage for later scholars like Du Bois to argue that race is actually a social construct. Omi and Winant show that race is made by society, shaped by history and power, not biology. Here's a clip of Winant talking about the social construction of race.
Social constructionism. The idea of the social constructedness of race is normally seen as a fairly recent idea. But when you think about social construction, and you go back to the original encounters that created the Americas, we had a kind of a peculiar racial dimension.
Race, as we know it, is a political and social construct created by man for the purpose of asserting power and maintaining a hierarchy. The next lesson I learned in class was about microaggressions. Racial microaggressions can be small, everyday behaviors or comments that subtly stereotype or disrespect someone because of their race. This is a visual representation of microaggressions. Specifically, quote, "You don't have to be that loud," is a micro-assault, which is direct and openly polices her behavior based on stereotypes. A micro-insult would be, quote, "Wow, you are so articulate," which sounds like praise but implies surprise that she is well-spoken given her race. And then a micro-invalidation would be, quote, "Is that a professional hairstyle?" This is invalidating and questions the legitimacy of her natural appearance. Mia Yang puts it simply, that microaggressions add up. No matter how confident people from marginalized or underrepresented communities feel about their identities, microaggressions create unsafe spaces and make individuals feel like perpetual outsiders. My next point is the issue that whiteness is often invisible and seen as society's normal. A vital person in understanding this concept is Peggy McIntosh. Here is her in an interview, talking about her realization of her privilege as a white woman.
But I couldn't believe it. I thought I'd seen something huge. Began to name it white privilege, unearned advantage that came because of my racial, ethnic status or projected worth. To ask for something I was demanding. I said, if I have anything I didn't earn, I wrote it down, and over the next 3 months, 46 elements of unearned advantage came to me, and they're in my paper, White Privilege, Unpacking the Invisible Map.
From McIntosh, I learned that as a white woman, I have unearned privileges that often go unnoticed in society, and recognizing this helps me become more socially aware. My final point I'll be exploring is negrescence theory, which was developed by William Cross and explores the stages that Black people may go through in developing a strong racial identity. A person may adopt mainstream views and minimize the importance of race in this stage. A personal experience with racism can spark awareness of racial identity during this stage. In this stage, a person may immerse themselves more in Black culture and explore what being Black means to them. In this stage, a person may feel more confident and secure in their personal Black identity. In this final stage, a person may feel more secure in their own racial identity and committed to their race while acknowledging others too. One critique to note is that Black identity development is often a non-linear process and not linear like this theory. First, I can acknowledge my privilege and actively notice and challenge places where whiteness shows up as the default. Secondly, I can build awareness of microaggressions and be mindful of my words and actions and stay open to criticism and change as well. Thirdly, I can use my privilege to not be a bystander and speak up, ensuring that everybody's voice is heard. In conclusion, Dr. Price's class has genuinely shaped how I understand myself and the world, and I'm committed to carrying these lessons forward in how I approach race and racialization in society.